Chapter 15. Chance. Chance could not believe the requirements he was going to have to go through to put a child care center in the resort. There were space guidelines, licensing guidelines, tax guidelines. All of it made his head swim. But he would do it for Merribeth and for the other employees who had children. Honestly, he had been surprised the resort didn't already have such a place, especially because it could also be used for guests of the resort who needed a few hours of peace. Merribeth hadn't been ecstatic about having to leave her house. Not that he could blame her, but she had perked up at the mention of an on-site center. He hoped she would be as excited about the babysitter he had hired to entertain Lucas the next few days while she stayed at the resort. It wasn't the full center experience, but it would still allow her to keep Lucas close and work. Unfortunately, it would take him a bit longer to get the center up and running, but he was determined to make it a priority. He added the steps to his to-do list for the morning and had just turned off his computer for the night when his cell phone rang. The number was local, but not one he recognized. "This is Chance Overstreet." "Hello, Mr. Overstreet. This is Matt from Tire City." Right, his flat tire. He had dropped the tire off during their lunch errands to be inspected and re-aired, but hadn't expected a call so soon. "Yes, Matt. Did you find any reason for the flat?" "I'm afraid we did. A close inspection revealed a small slash in the tire, and from the clean edges, it appears deliberate. You'll need to purchase a new tire." It wasn't what he'd hoped to hear, but it wasn't entirely unexpected. It did, however, increase his concern for Merribeth's and Lucas's safety, and he was glad they would be staying at the resort. In fact, he might even check to see if there was a free room he could stay in as well. The thought of being even 20 minutes away, should something happen, left a sick feeling in his stomach. "Thanks, Matt. Can you get a replacement ready for me tomorrow, and I'll swing by and pick it up?" "Sure thing." Chance checked his watch as he hung up the phone. 10 till 5. Merribeth would be popping in his office soon so they could go pick up Lucas. He turned the computer back on, thankful that it was new and would therefore boot quickly. As soon as the screen came to life, he navigated to the booking site and secured a room for himself down the hall from Merribeth's. As he clicked the button to finalize it, he wondered briefly what he was doing. After all, he'd been the one to leave her 8 years ago. Plus, it was obvious from her reaction at lunch that she wasn't quite ready to let him back in her life, but it didn't seem to matter to him. He might have managed to convince himself that he didn't care for her all those years ago, but seeing her in danger had definitely done something to his heart, and there was no denying that he cared for her now. "Hey, you about ready?" At the sound of her voice in the doorway, he pressed the button to shut the computer down once again. She didn't need to know that someone had knifed his tires, or that he was so worried about her safety that he had booked a room down the hall from her. He would just have to be super careful that she didn't see him. "Yep, good to go." He grabbed his coat from the back of his chair and shoved his arms in the sleeves. "Hey, what do you say we grab dinner after picking Lucas up? I feel like a pizza, and there's no way I could eat one alone. Plus, it's rather lonely eating dinner alone." He flashed his most charming smile and wiggled his eyebrows at her. An indentation appeared in her cheek, a sure sign she was biting the inside of it, but she nodded. "Pizza sounds good, and I've been craving it too. Money's been so tight lately that we've been living off ramen and sandwiches, so I'm sure Lucas will be game too." He didn't know if she had meant to let the information about her finances, or lack of them really, slip, but he decided not to say anything in case she hadn't. "Is Gitano's still open?" Gitano's had been the hangout before football games in high school. Run by an Italian immigrant, the food was not only delicious, but authentic, and the atmosphere had always been lively. Her eyes widened. "You remember Gitano's?" "Are you kidding? I tried a pizza place everywhere I went after I moved. hoping to find one that could compare, but nothing came close. He flicked off the office lights and stepped into the hallway. Perhaps you shouldn't have left then. There was a teasing note in her voice, but her words caught him squarely in the chest. I know I shouldn't have. Her smile faltered as his words sunk in. Chance, Merribeth, I know I messed up, he said, cutting her off before she could say anything that might keep him from sharing his heart. But I need you to know that I never meant to hurt you. I honestly thought at the time that I was doing what was right for both of us, and if I could go back in time and change things, I would. She held his gaze, her eyes flicking back and forth as she studied him. We better go. I don't want Lucas to think I forgot him. Chance tried not to sigh as he led the way to the parking lot. Merribeth was a tough cookie, but he knew that already. Somehow he would find a way into her heart again.